Grok, X's AI's chat box, altering photos of people, particularly women and girls, without their consent to show them wearing little or no clothing, placed in sexually compromising positions, or even engaging in sexual acts and then posting them on X of being sued. How can these intimate images, including deepfakes, impact young girls' psychological well-being?
It's an incredibly negative impact, and it needs to be taken very seriously. It affects a sense of shame, leads to feelings of suicidality, depression, anxiety. So we shouldn't underestimate the impact on the young victims.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, all of you. I've done a lot of work in this area, as you probably know. And I will start with you, Dr. Twenge. I understand you grew up in Winona. Is that correct?
Till I was 7, yes, and still have lots of family in Minnesota.
Right, and you're wearing white Vikings purple and Prince purple, which we appreciate. So you're a strong proponent of bell-to-bell bans on phones in school, and as am I. What outcomes do you see in schools that have instituted these kinds of bans?
So many, and we're still building up the research literature in this area, but there are several studies. And then there's also, in the past year, there have been more and more schools that have instituted those bell-to-bell bans. And generally, you get better mental health, better academic performance, fewer discipline issues is a big one that principals report. So some good outcomes that we really want to see.
Very, very good. Thank you. I think it's good to get those out there as schools, more and more schools are looking at this. Dr. Radesky, social media platforms generated $11 billion in revenue in 2022 from advertising directed at kids and teenagers, including over $2 billion in ad profits. Talk about the financial incentives that they have and why that should make us act with the number of the bills, Kids Online Safety Act, and others. Talk about the incentives they have that are counter to what we think we should be doing.
Yeah, when business models are built upon ad revenue generation, it means that the longer you have a user using your product, the more ad impressions you get, and then you're able to make more money from the advertisers, especially if it's targeted advertising. So you can collect more data, the more people watch. This is especially with short form video, because you can consume a lot more content in the space of 5 minutes with short form, and that tells the platform so much more about you. What you watched, what you hovered over, what you shared, and then
so the more they get addicted to the screen, the more information the kids do, the more information they get. And
correct.
The more money they make.
Right.
Okay, go ahead.
One of our first studies we did on kids' apps, we looked to see how many ads were showing up, and it was remarkable how many were popping up in the middle of gameplay. They'd have banners across the bottom for things like bipolar disorder treatment. It was
unbelievable.
Clearly
so in
inappropriate.
your testimony, you also expressed concern about AI chat boxes, and how do these toys interfere with kids' development?
Yes, I joined the letter from Fair Play concerned about AI toys this holiday season because in early childhood especially, kids have so much animism. They have a lot of trust and a huge imagination for their stuffed animals, for other characters, and they can become very attached to media characters. And there is research showing that when you interview 4- and 5-year-olds about things like an AI assistant like Alexa, they say, I think it has feelings. I think it could be my friend.
They do. Yeah.
It would be fun to spend time with if I was lonely. Yeah. And so that there's both philosophical concerns that you're building a relationship with AI that's basically stored in a company's servers. There's also practical concerns that play is much more supportive of your imagination, of your cognitive flexibility, your self-regulation when it's open-ended, not led by the programmer's ideas.
Completely. Just this week, we've seen Grok, X's AI's chat box, altering photos of people, particularly women and girls, without their consent to show them wearing little or no clothing, placed in sexually compromising positions, or even engaging in sexual acts and then posting them on X. So I believe that these posts are violations of the Take It Down Act that Senator Cruz and I worked very hard to get done. The criminal piece of this involves those that are posting, but the platforms are also required to take it down. That's taking effect in a few months. And there have been many even conservative commentators who are very concerned about this, and it just shows, like, if we're not even going to put these rules in place, why we need guard rules federally, even if the risk of being sued. How can these intimate images, including deepfakes, impact young girls' psychological well-being?
It's an incredibly negative impact, and it needs to be taken very seriously. It affects a sense of shame, leads to feelings of suicidality, depression, anxiety. So we shouldn't underestimate the impact on the young victims.
Did you want to add anything, Ms. Churkin?
I would just say that, all of these apps are designed for engagement, right? So it's social media, the notification apps, AI chatbots, but also the products that are being used in schools are driven by the same engagement process. So the ed tech apps, the gamification of quote unquote educational content is equally concerning for me as well.
Yeah, I'm just shocked that they won't change this and take it down. And it shows what we're dealing with right now.
Exactly.
And it really shows where at least one company is coming from. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Senator Schmidt.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thanks for having this hearing. I think when I was an attorney general in my previous job, we dealt with a lot of these issues, including the censorship case. And so I think there's like this like a triple, three-headed sin of, you've got the criminal aspect, which I think everyone can kind of agree needs to be dealt with. You've got the under 18 or the kid aspect, which is the focus here, which I'm glad we're doing. Then you also have this kind of, the Section 230 protections, which in a perfect world were meant to have an open platform, and that's why you had the liability protections. The problem is when the social media companies become publishers, not platforms, they should lose that Section 230 protection. There's not really been a hammer behind that. But on the kid aspect, which is my hope that we can find broad agreement, bipartisan agreement on what to actually do about it, which is why you guys are all here, and I appreciate your testimony. I want to dig a little bit deeper into, I guess, the business model or how you guys see it or what you've, through your research or in your testimony. Dr. Rudetsky, you found that early childhood YouTube videos had the highest advertising load. And in some cases, the ads were longer than the videos themselves. Why does YouTube intentionally overload children with ads?
There's a huge market for young children's content on YouTube. There's a couple of reasons for this. One, it's very successful. Two, parents of young children are exhausted, and so they use YouTube to occupy kids. And so there's tons of ad space to be filled. There are even, I've seen YouTubers who are now instructing other YouTubers on how to create AI-generated content for young children, like little nursery rhymes, because they know it's a huge source of ad sales. So I think there should be limits on the ad load and the way that kids' attention is monetized.
This is I don't know the answer to this. It's an open-ended question to you or anybody else. So I'm Gen X. So the big, controversy when I was growing up was Saturday morning cartoons were a thing like that. Like you got up and you watched some cartoons on Saturday morning, and there was all this, cereal ads. This was something this now seems, rather innocuous, but big cereal was in front of the, kids, and then we would go to the grocery store and tell mom to get something, right? How is this different than that? I think I have some idea, but how do you guys, why is this much more significant and different than that controversy maybe in the 80s?
It's an element of control and directability. Is when we were growing up watching TV, and there's an argument to be made, TV was bad for us, so were the ads for us, just not as bad. There was, you had no control. Like we were talking about earlier, whatever was on the TV, we all watched it. So there was a certain element of collectivism where our identities were formed around one thing that none of us touched. Today, it's all individualism. Everything you watch will be geared towards you, which means the ads you see will be geared towards you, and it shoves you into a very small path, which really narrows your identity and who you can be.
And what all of you are saying is that study after study shows you that the further down that path you go is really destructive to a kid's mental health.
Bingo,
right?
bingo. It isolates you and it leads to loneliness and things.
And as you know, I've
there.
A special needs son, but I have 2 teenage daughters, and so I can, we live this also. So I think as a legislator, you bring those experiences. It's very difficult.